Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's the Keepin the G Real podcast. We're back. We're back with a front runner. Give Kyle a competition for guest of the year. What up, Ton?
What up?
I think this is Ton's third time?
Second.
Is it your second? I thought I did 2 with you already.
Not that I remember, but
I'm pretty sure I did 2 with you, and you took off early the one time. Remember?
maybe I did too. Hey, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
What up, Hawkeye?
Yep. So
Hawkeye out of nowhere, coming in clutch, podcasting. I didn't know what we had going on today. Everyone flaked out of playing basketball, dude. Got to put in those reps. No one wants to put in the reps. We were down. We ain't going to win a championship, not like this, dude. I'm excited to play a little basketball. So what do you guys think?
I'm definitely down. Get the jumper going, you know.
So, the 40-year-old Vince Carter reincarnate, fucking juking kids out. I'm just excited to see what Hawkeye's going to do.
yeah, me too.
We always
He goes, me too. What you do is just raining bombs, dude. First year in the league, MVP.
that'd be a good thing for our team. We need it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll probably suck, but yeah, we're here. We're going to talk about a little basketball. The first round of the NBA is almost over. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with... Let's just start with the top. I mean, there's nothing much to really be said here. Milwaukee versus Detroit. Although, there was like a glimmer in Adam's eye, like as if fucking Detroit could do something against Milwaukee. Blake Griffin's going to average a quadruple-double.
Oh, you mean
scores? They blew him out every time.
Blake Griffin with the bum wheel there?
Yeah, he only played 2 games, I think.
See, that's the one series I didn't watch any of. You've been watching these games. You both have, right?
The Milwaukee Detroit. Are we talking about?
I didn't really watch them.
No, did you watch any of that?
Oh, yeah.
How bad was that? Like, what was the reason why Detroit was just so... I mean, they're not that good of a team, but...
Well, number one, Blake Griffin had a huge cast on his leg, and he's still, like, half of Blake Griffin is still a little bit athletic, which is kind of weird, but they should have known they wouldn't have lost. They were going to lose. If I was Blake Griffin, I would have just called it a season and just get that surgery done and move on to the next year. I mean, they clearly weren't going to win. Drummond played okay. I don't think he played very good.
Yeah, I think he played pretty bad.
Yeah, he just they backed into the playoffs and unfortunately, they ran sort of into a buzzsaw. I mean, there's really not much to say there. I mean, it's a quick sweep, but everyone knew that.
Any positives from Detroit? Anything at all? Any kids step up or play? I mean, it's the East. Did they get in with a losing record?
I think they're even.
Seed, right?
I think they're even.
So the 8th seed was the even seed, the lowest seed?
Yeah, the team that got bounced from the bottom half of the Eastern was Miami, which tried to back their way into. So it was
41.
Yeah. Actually, at one point, Detroit was like the 6th seed, but the teams were so close. Like I said, they kind of backed their way in. But any of those bottom teams seeing Milwaukee in the first round was pretty much not going to stay around very long anyway. But nothing I saw I don't know what you really get from the 8th seed. You know what I mean? Like I don't see any bright spots from that team. It's the same, usual suspects on that team. I don't know if they should blow it up or they should, or maybe they just need another piece. But
do you guys know if an 8 seed's ever beat a 1 seed before?
Never.
I don't think it's ever happened, right?
I don't think in the current NBA, no. The current NBA playoff setup, I don't think so.
Oh, side note, so what I was going to tell you was, you weren't playing with us the other night. Guess what some kid on the opposing team, an all-star team up, pulled out on us?
What happened?
This kid comes out with the Wes Unseld, right?
Oh, he's the best.
So I'm rolling because Adam already starts talking shit. He goes, who the fuck is Wes Unseld and all this shit, blah, blah, blah. He's like... was Wes Unseld a center or a small forward? Because he's undersized on the game. Like, compared to everyone else, he's not that big.
He wasn't. He was small forward.
Like, back then, was he a center?
He was a power forward center.
But we love Wes Unseld here.
But Wes Unseld was more because he was kind of one of them lunch pail kind of guys. But he was
6'7", 245.
But no, he was a banger, and
yeah.
his most of his career was being kind of the enforcer, physical.
Baltimore, that was back in the day, dude.
Yeah.
The Capitals.
Don't get it twisted. Unseld could ball, but one thing is he was about throwing them hands or throwing elbows, so near and dear to to people that like that style of basketball.
Dude,
to their hearts.
Shit. No, so this kid comes out and Adam immediately starts talking all that shit. Whoa, who the fuck is Wes Unseld? I go, hey, keep talking that shit, dude. This kid goes out, Wes Unseld dropped 30 points on him, dunking on everybody with him. I was fucking just dying laughing because all I could think about was you. This dude come out there, this big old fro, just dunk on everybody. And Adam was getting so mad. I was just cheesing. Adam's like, who the fuck is Wes Unseld? I'm like, about to get fucking Zinedine Zidane out here, dude. But yeah, no one really expected Detroit to be competitive against Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee's just so athletic. They all play defense. They got shooters. You got Giannis, who's a fucking monster.
Well like the one glaring thing that I saw, which really wasn't like X's and O's in actual basketball players, is how can you have a coach that's coaching your team that was previously last year the coach of the year, and he gets bounced out by a top-tier team, and then he's in the 8th seed spot that backed in, and he's the coach for that team.
Yeah, that's odd.
Very, very weird. It's like, oh, you did such a great job. Get out of here.
That's weird. What do you think? Any takeaways from that, Sensor? You said you didn't watch any of those?
I watched a little bit.
I remember I tuned into the first game and I was just watching Giannis put his dick in everyone's face, and I was just like, yeah, I don't need to watch the series again.
Like we said, you won't see Giannis won't have to really play well. He didn't shoot very well in this series from perimeter,
which he really doesn't shoot well.
Right, but he wasn't challenged all that much. There was no one really challenging him. And he was really getting around Drummond and Blake Griffin. Like I said, hobbled leg. He couldn't really do much to kind of slow the Milwaukee train down. So probably Boston is going to be the real foe in the next round, which is going to put some real pressure on them and make him do some things.
We have to have a talk about that once we actually talk about the next matchups, but. The Boston and the Indiana Pacers series, which is funny you bring up Boston. It's next, but Indiana played well. Might have played the best I've ever seen a team play while still getting 4-0'd. Is that a fair assessment? I thought they played pretty damn well, even though they got 4-0'd. Like, imagine if they would have had Victor Oladipo.
But
those games weren't bad. They were competitive games.
Competitive, but still, it's all you need to do is win the game by 1 point.
Right,
so
right.
I mean, to really make it competitive, you win a game. You know what I mean? So
true. No, I mean in the guise of the fact that they got 4-0, all those games were fun to watch. I watched 3 of them.
But they're in injuries. Yeah. And they had to. The game 4 they allowed the ball to go to Tyreek Evans a lot. And he's really good at he's a lot bigger than what normally people think as sort of a guard, but he's not really a true point guard. And he missed a lot of shots at the rim, and obviously as close to the game, 110 to 106, that became critical towards the end of the game. You can't give away those cheap baskets at the rim. But basically, he generated offense for them. Actually, one good takeaway in that game was what's his name, the big man for Indiana. He had
Miles Turner.
Yeah, he had a huge dunk over.
Yeah, I did see that.
Hayward there. It looked like when he met up with Hayward, he actually went another 2 feet up and crushed it on him. But again, a team with some injuries, a little bit overmatched. But these two teams were fighting for the 4 or 5 spot anyway for a good chunk of second half of the season. So, but clearly the X's and O's and really got to Indiana. I thought Nate McMillan would at least get this team to get up and at least take a game or two, but just didn't seem to work out that way. Boston got the better of them.
What I thought was the most interesting thing about this Boston team is I liked about the series was Gordon Hayward started to play a lot better. And I don't know if that's like he needed a little while to get his legs under him because this is his first time back a little while. He had that gruesome injury. He's one of my favorite players. But, like, I felt bad when he got injured. But he looked pretty good. If you look ahead to their round, I texted Nate and I go, I like Boston. I like Boston over Milwaukee. I feel like I'm in the minority, but I like Boston over Milwaukee because Boston just has way more shot creators. Well, I like them over Milwaukee.
Okay,
I like the way they match up against Milwaukee.
This is the thing when I see Boston. So they had Isaiah Thomas, and then what they would do is they really funneled the offense through Isaiah Thomas. Little bit of a liability on defense because of his size, but the fact is that he was getting a ton of points being the lead point guard. So now that Kyrie Irving is running it in the playoffs, it showed us like it's kind of running the same thing. Like he's definitely offensively the best player on that team, getting his own shot. He's one of the best in the league getting his own shot.
Well, I think if you want to be technical, he's the best offensive player in this upcoming series. I know Giannis scores 28 a game, but Kyrie can still get you in the playoffs 30 a game, just like everyone else, and his dangles and his shot creation. Like if those games are close, if Boston can make those games close, Kyrie's gonna be the X factor in those games. He's gonna hit big shots and win games.
But what I'm saying is like
hit big shots.
They've basically put down Kyrie, always been on him all season. And it's like, he scores all these points and then they're losing, and it was like, but Isaiah Thomas was basically doing the same thing. Kyrie Irving is not going to be your top defender. He's a good shot creator. He's more of a scoring point guard, just like Isaiah Thomas. But the thing is, you get something a lot better in Kyrie Irving. He can make big shots in the game.
And that's the thing, because like I've said, I've always likened like the shot creators to high-level quarterbacks in the NFL. When the game comes on the line, you got to be able to throw the ball in football. Mm-hmm. And that's just the truth, right? Same thing with these shot creators. If those games are close, it doesn't matter what system you're running. It doesn't matter. The game slows down to the half-court set. Ball in his hand, that kid's going to get you. That kid can create any bucket for himself.
Yeah.
Any bucket, any situation, he's a threat to seal that shit.
I think with him leading the way and then everyone else kind of following behind, if Brad Stevens allows them to filter the offense through him, I think they're going to still get the same results as they had in the past with Isaiah Thomas there. But I think you actually have a better point guard at that position, which is going to make it a lot tougher for teams. You're going to have to eventually try to stop him or funnel him, which is they have such a great overall team, which everyone could do something, score, rebound, play their role. I think it's just going to make this Boston team better. Got a lot of slack for the position that they came in the Eastern Conference from their position, but as these playoffs keep rolling through, you're going to find that this team is going to get stronger and stronger.
And what do you think about this? I'll continue what I was about to say, but what do you think, Spencer? What do you think in this game?
The matchup?
He has the matchups up, but who do you like in this?
I like the Bucks.
You like the Bucks? Why?
They're not going to. I don't think they have the guys to put any pressure on Giannis. I know Kyrie's going to do his thing, but I think Bledsoe against Kyrie, they might switch. Put Jaylen Brown on Bledsoe, but Bledsoe's averaging averaging almost 20 points. I just don't think they.
Bledsoe tears all of us up on 2K. Doesn't he tear you up on 2K?
He dropped 39 points the last time.
Does he tear you up on 2K?
What team is he on? Is he on?
What team is he on?
I don't even know what team he's on in the game.
He's on the New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay,
I don't know if I play that.
and he fucked me up. Dude,
He just roasted me.
Dude, I was trading buckets with him the other night, and I was getting so mad. He just wouldn't miss. On the game, he's nasty.
I just like the matchups for the Bucks against Celtics.
Well, now that you look at it, dude, the Bucks have so many guys that can knock down shots. You got Mirotic can knock a shot down, George Hill can, Middleton. Bledsoe,
Milton's good
Giannis
shot creator.
I know, I get it. People think I'm... Here's the thing. I love Giannis as a player. Like, who doesn't? But, like, in this format, I kind of like having my best player be a shot creator on my team.
We've had this.
We're gonna get to my theory. Once we get a little farther down the line. We had some Exhibit A this week.
We've definitely talked about this, and this
That's that bar. That's that line I talked about on my TV.
Giannis is athletically great. He's gifted for his size. It's unbelievable. He's high level MVP style of player.
These stats are just against Pistons though, so they're little inflated.
My only thing is when you we're looking at this roster right now. Where are you gonna get your big shot from?
Yeah, that is a problem.
I would, that's the problem.
It's probably Chris Middleton. It's not the best player to go to, but
Mirotic has hit some big shots in his day in regular season games.
Middleton is steady, but I'm telling you, if these games get to like the last 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and you're trading, and you need defensive stops, and you need like guaranteed buckets.
Swap over to Boston's. Because it's easier with Boston. Like, look, Kyrie Irving can get his own shot. Jason Tatum can get his own shot. Gordon Hayward can get his own shot. Marcus Morris, if you leave him wide open, knock down a three-point shot. Jaylen Brown, you leave him wide open, he can knock down. Terry Rozier could create his own shot, and if you leave him wide open, he can hit a three-pointer. I don't know about the rest of those guys down there. I haven't seen much of them play. But they
don't play much.
1, 2, 3, 4... Well, Horford's been hitting threes, too, if you leave him wide open. You can't sag off Horford lately. They're like 7 guys deep that can hit three-point shots. Look, 42%, 52%, 44%, 35%. If you're shooting over 32%, look, he's almost at 32, Al Horford. Jaylen Brown, 42%. Terry Rozier, 33%. Aaron Baines took a couple.
Remember, this is against the Pistons. I don't know what type of.
No, these are the Pacers.
This is against the Pacers.
This is the Boston.
Oh, the Pacers. Oh, yeah.
Still.
But still.
Yeah, still.
But still, like, those are all bona fide shot hitters, and 3 of those guys can create their own shot. Like, 100% create their own shot. You know who might have himself a big game this time? Some big games is Gordon Hayward. Who are they going to put on Gordon Hayward? Do they consider... Here's a question for you guys. Do they consider Gordon Hayward the second option on that team when he's fully playing to his best ability? Or do they consider... what's his face there?
I think they consider Tatum as their second option.
Gordon Hayward doesn't even... he's not even technically a starter.
Right.
Still gets a lot of
Gordon
minutes.
Hayward's healthy, he's buckets, though. So that's the thing. I just think they're way more... I really like Boston. I don't know what it is. Problem is they're going to have to play defense, though. And they're not... I don't know what statistically what they are defensively, but as far as their defense is...
Well, like, when they put Terry Rozier in the game, he plays pretty tough defense. Marcus Morris plays pretty good.
Marcus
they all do. Even within the scheme, Kyrie does all right. It's just... but also, this league has a lot of really good point guards. I think we forget about that. That you have to guard people traveling, going backwards, and then you can't put your hands on them. Right. So it makes it real tough on. I think guards get too big of a hit because it's like, oh, why can't you stay in front of John Wall? Well, John Wall's pretty damn fast. Why can't you stay in front of Kyrie Irving? Kyrie was pretty good at getting to the basket. So they do give point guards a bad rap about their defense, but you gotta find me if you can find me a handful of guys that really can really lock down another point guard, because all these point guards are really good offensively. You don't become the general of a NBA team by being halfway decent, you know.
So you like Milwaukee, Spencer?
Yeah.
Who do you like, Anton?
I like Boston, and not so much that like it becomes down to the shot making ability. I think this starts to this is going to be about coaching, and I think when you
deep dive NBA.
yeah, when you watch Brad Stevens, I think the way he's able, like if he needs a quick bucket on a out of bounds, he tends to get it. He draws up inventive stuff and gets people cutting and moving, and he gets baskets. So he actually takes some of the pressure off the players by giving them surefire ways to get quick buckets. And I think he's so in tune to different spots in the game, whether it's late in the game, whether it's close to half. It's like, I need a timeout, or doesn't take a timeout. It's like, hey, let's run this, and they get buckets. And he does really well at trying to take advantage of matchups. They like to do, if teams like to switch a lot, they like to force feed it to Horford, and he gets those matchups, and he's so good at doing that pump fake where he doesn't even get off the ground from the 3-point line and somehow still able to get by the guy, even though he's only traveling like half a mile an hour, dribbling the basketball. But they like to take advantage of the mismatches, and I think in this series, what Budenholzer and with Brad Stevens, I think that's going to be a little bit of the difference here. But I do like the edge has to go to Boston in my eyes, only because I think that there's more people that if you really need go-to buckets and get buckets, you're going to find more on Boston than you're going to find with Milwaukee.
So you like Boston?
I do like Boston in this.
I like Boston too. I texted Nate late one night. I was like, I like Boston.
But let's be clear. This series last year went a full 7. So it wasn't like these was pushover last year. So these are going to be tight fought games, and it's going to take 6 or 7 games to get this done. This is not going to be by any stretch of the imagination a quick 5 games or 4 games and then someone moves on to the next round. You're going to have to get stops. This is going to be a thing where Milwaukee wants to get up and down in spots when they can. Yeah. Boston is going to want to slow this thing down. Boston wants this game like in that in the first game with Indiana. They want it somewhere down in the 90s or the 80s.
Boston wants to slow it down. Why does Boston want to slow it down? It's because they could do more in the half court because they got guys that can get their own shots. And they don't have to run up and down the court like idiots to get buckets.
And defensively, it stifles Giannis. Giannis is such a better player out in the transition. But if you make him try to make moves and get in, make shots from the half court, this is where you're going to stifle this team. I think Boston is, if they're smart, they're better off. They want this game to be a little bit mucky, and they want it to be somewhere below 100 points. If they can get it in there, that means that it's forcing Milwaukee to make tough shots. And that Giannis is going to get a whole bunch of touches, and that's where I would want that focus to be. Let him go. If they're going to beat us, let him beat us by making shots. Not shots at the basket and dunks and little reverse layups. No, have him make baskets from the perimeter.
Right. And so we got Boston, Spencer got Milwaukee. We'll jump to the next one. The next one, to me, is so disappointing. I was so disappointed, so I said I liked Brooklyn to possibly win it against Philly. It just goes to show you how talented Philly actually is, right? Because I really don't think they play well as a team and shit. And I really don't think their coach has that team. By the way, you are too. I'm fucking sick and tired of Jimmy Butler. And then I'm listening to a show the other day going, oh, Jimmy Butler's going to go to some guy was like, yeah, they should get Jimmy Butler next year, L.A. Fuck that. If I was LeBron, I'd be like, don't be fucking trying to sign Jimmy Butler's ass. He's never gone to a team And it's never just worked and been easygoing and like, let's just fucking play basketball. There's always, every stop that dude has, there's always some bullshit going on. Like, it's like, oh, Jimmy Butler thinks his team's a bunch of pussies, or Jimmy Butler doesn't get along with this person or get along, and you're getting that same shit. I don't think they play well together as a team. And because of that,
I'm going to hit softballs, then I'm going to Nancy's.
And because of that, I was like thinking to myself, this game, I thought the series should have been more competitive. They had some competitive games, even though Brooklyn lost 4-1. Yeah, they had some competitive games, but I was just like, I was disappointed in Brooklyn. I thought Brooklyn was going to show us more than that. Probably just because they're young and shit. Do they have that one game, remember, Sutzer, where fucking your boy Dudley came out and fucked everybody up? They booted Jimmy Butler out of the game. That's a great trade-off. Did you watch that? You lose Dudley, who sucks. I mean, Spencer's guy, but he's on there for the role to be an enforcer and defender. You sacrifice Jared Dudley and you lose the other team's arguably their second best player, and you still can't beat him. I was like, oh
yeah, but then also, what's his name? Oh, the guy. I can't think of his name.
Embiid?
No. Tobias Harris. Then it frees up Tobias Harris, though, to start getting more shots when Jimmy Butler's not there. So it's not.
I don't know how I feel about Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler's a little overrated. Like, he's not that, in my opinion, he's not that fucking fantastic of a player. And then he comes with all this bullshit.
Well, where's he rated at? I don't know if he's. Depends on where people have him at.
A lot of people think Jimmy Butler's like amazing, and I'm like, yeah, he's a good player.
He's a good two-way player.
He's a good two-way player, but I don't think he's a star player. And honestly, at his age right now, there's a lot of other dudes that try to get in free agency. I'm not doing that bullshit. If I was a coach, I'd probably get a fucking fight with his ass. Everywhere he goes, it's just bullshit. It's true, right? You even know some shit from back when we played in college. What's that story about?
He he played at Marquette, but at the same time, Jamison Crowder played at Marquette. So they were like, that team had, and then they had like the kid's name was Odom something or something Odom, and they had players on that team. They had some horses on that team. The problem is that Crowder and Butler, because they're so alpha males, they couldn't get along. That's why that team never went anywhere. They couldn't hardly be in the same room, let alone being on the same team. They hated each other. He's very alpha male, and he has a skill set, but we're looking at the roster, and this comes like, we see the points and we see all the other stuff, but again, you're looking at a team that, like, even with JJ Redick, who shoots threes, but he goes cold sometimes. So this is really a team that's
which he did in these playoffs.
Yeah, which is very inconsistent about shooting. And Jimmy Butler, for what he does, is not a consistent player. And I'm not just thinking like, oh, well, you got to be able to make shots and make threes and stuff like that. I'm saying within the flow of a game, being steady. And like, a lot of these guys need need volume to get points and to do things or to get into a rhythm. And it seems like Jimmy Butler, like, when it comes to his shooting, he's streaky. He's not very fluid. His size and being able to post people up and drive, he can do a lot of different things. But I just don't think, like, for what he does, I don't think it's worth the hassle that you get with him when he's unhappy. All of a sudden, everything implodes, and it's like, you have value. I don't know if you have that much value.
Offensively, it reminds me of, he's in a spot, in my opinion, where I've lumped Russell Westbrook. Physically and skill-wise, he's capable of doing everything on the court, but he's inconsistent. But like, Butler's had a few clutch shots here and there. He's a shot creator, but he's so fucking inconsistent, just like Russell Westbrook is.
But if you watch this series and watch these games, you saw him get lost in the games. Like, I was like, where's Jimmy Butler? And he's on the floor, and I'm like, why is he not getting involved? Like, why aren't they getting him the ball? And we're talking with Ben Simmons out there, and sometimes having Joel Embiid on there. It just, like, it seemed to get lost. Actually, a guy that seemed to you start to see more was Tobias Harris. He was taking more threes. He was being more active. He was trying to get involved in there more than Jimmy Butler. And in the one game, I barely knew Jimmy Butler until what's his name or Dudley runs up and then they both get ejected. I was like, oh, Jimmy Butler was in this game. Jeez, I mean, he flew way under the radar because he wasn't providing enough that I don't think they are not a very cohesive team. They play basketball. They all play basketball individually well. I think there's still a hang up with Ben Simmons not being able to take a shot. I don't think it's that when Embiid was not there. Ben Simmons scored points. He's controlling the ball. He's getting assists. They don't need him to really shoot when they want to get into a more up-tempo and just find people the ball. Embiid, if you notice when you watch him, he kind of stifles the offense because like either you got to set him up, like if he's out on the perimeter, you give him the ball, and then he kind of got to get into his three, be wide open. But when you try to give him the ball in the post, when you look at him, he's not really terribly refined down there because like he's not very powerful. Like he's like you put him up against another big man who's got size, he can start giving him problems. And I
think that's more of a mental thing than it is a physical thing because he's an athletic load.
Right, but again,
look
not
at his PER.
Not
holy shit.
Yeah, but not still.
That stat's kind of wonky, though, because it's not so much about efficiency, really, right? It's about what you actually contribute. Mm-hmm. It's an amalgamation of everything, like rebounds, assists, all these other things.
He gets blocks and, yeah.
But look at his stat sheet, dude.
Yeah. His blocks.
3.5 assists.
If you're almost getting 3 blocks a game, I mean, that's a huge stat.
If he stays healthy, I personally am a huge fan of Joel Embiid. I think if there's any dude they should get rid of, Tobias Harris can play within a system. He can kind of create his own shot. I would fucking shop Jimmy. If I was this team, because you got to keep, in my opinion, I know he can't shoot, but if he could just at least develop some sort of a jumper. There was games in this series where Ben Simmons just looked like a monster.
But
even without his ability to shoot, he passes and defends and drives so well. I feel like you got to keep him.
But you always see him do dorky stuff True. There's no shot there, or you could take a shot where he bounces the ball off the backboard and tries to go retrieve it and like give himself an alley-oop dunk. That's just, I mean,
kind of corny.
That's not. Fast break, like. I mean, that's. I don't know what that is, but that ain't basketball,
dude. That's what you do in real life. That's what you do in men's league.
Right, but
he goes right.
But even let's say in our men's league, you know, the doofy players that we are, I'm taking the jump shot. I ain't fucking trying to bounce it off the backboard and try to give it to myself.
Nah, you're crossing over two 18-year-olds, hurting their pride and draining a 3-pointer.
But again, I don't necessarily think he needs to again, Magic wasn't necessarily a jump shooter. You don't have to really be a full-fledged jump shooter. And then the other anomaly who plays point is for the Lakers there.
I like him as a player too, Lonzo Ball.
No, we're talking about the old
old school Lakers.
No. He played with Boston when he was young, the point guard there who can't shoot now.
Oh, Rondo.
Rajon Rondo. I love Rondo too. But you can get away with being Rondo more so a decade ago.
But
it's harder.
But remember, they call him playoff Rondo because not because he shoots, is because he'll defend and he controls the ball.
Right.
So and he does it well.
Means so much too. People forget that. Defense is so important.
But I think he's fine. I mean, again, we're also got to say that Joel Embiid takes threes, but he's not really. He's an average shooter, but he's not really a really great shooter from the perimeter. It does help to open his game up, but we have to remember
you have to respect him on the perimeter,
right? But in this series, he didn't do so great shooting the three. But he didn't.
Yeah, he stopped shooting them because he was shooting terrible.
The one game I watched, he was wide open.
Yeah,
then he pumped,
drove past 23%.
Yeah, which is not that good, but. I noticed towards the tail end of the last couple games, he stopped settling for the 3-point shots and started driving it. I think he's a super talented player. I keep saying this. Dude, he shoots like 80% from the free throw line. I just wish he could stay healthy. Like, Embiid is a beast. People talk shit about him. And
Well, he's not healthy right now. Look at his minutes. His minutes per game. He's not even.
Yeah, but look how good his stats are with those minutes.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
So it's like, I don't know. I like Embiid. I feel like Embiid is the piece you can't move out of all these guys. That's just my opinion.
Well, like,
if he could stay healthy.
Well, I'm going to go back to this overall series. Actually, this was my favorite series because.
God, I love that Nets team.
Well, number one, stealing the first game was so huge for their confidence. And it immediately showed that Philly was not together. Like, they didn't come out to play. And that's in the end, like, they clearly, like, took control of the series. They took the control of the series back, and then won the next 4 games. But you can't get into the later rounds into these playoffs with these serious teams and think like you're just gonna come out. I mean, just like mentally and emotionally flat, and then think you're gonna get back into a series. That was a huge wake up call, and give Brooklyn some credit. They came out and they took that game. They played like they wanted to be there. They played like they wanted that game, and they took that game.
What's his name playing lights out? Huh?
D'Angelo Russell. And the second half of the season with the Nets, and even most of the year has been playing fantastic. I mean, just
and
like
I like Karis LeVert too.
Yeah. This team has a lot of
Spencer Dinwiddie. Let's go. That's my guy.
Yeah. This team has a lot of really good players, and they've got moving into the offseason, they can make a lot of moves. And remember, they're getting a lot of these guys on the cheap.
Imagine if they could somehow pull in like a Kevin Durant. Imagine if this team right here could pull in a Kevin Durant. That would make that team nasty as fuck.
Yes,
Imagine
I don't know.
That.
I don't.
Imagine if they could get Kevin Durant to come to the
maybe. I mean,
because they're like, he's coming to New York. What if he says everyone's suck my dick and he goes to the Nets?
Yes,
that would be nasty.
This series was actually the most fun series to watch. I don't like
Jared Allen only averaging 6.8 rebounds, being 7 foot, but I mean he had to play against him.
He's not
golfs rebounds.
Again, like he's more of a guy. He'll make buckets close to the baskets, dunks, block shots. His game is not to go out there and really score.
Have more blocks than Ronda Hollis Jefferson though.
Yeah.
But he didn't play. He doesn't get that many minutes.
No.
Got abused.
They were on a small lineup. It's a lot too.
But why I like this series is that they sometimes when you're the underdog and you get into these playoffs, sometimes the style of play can help lead you to being a part into the game. Philly wasn't engaged, especially in the first game. So what they did was they went out there and they punched Philly in the mouth. They got out early right from the jump in that game, and they took control of that game, and Philly could never recover in there. And then what they did was they mucked up the series. They made it about trying to play defense, half-court sets, make Philly make shots. Philly made enough shots, because the problem is that later on, when you got later into the games and later into the series, the Nets would go on these cold streaks. They would bring in LeVert, give him a boost. All of a sudden, next thing you know, they're down by 10. And then they were so inconsistent when it came to getting real consistency throughout the whole game. But the smart thing to do is what they did was make it about defense, make it a little bit ugly. When you look at
it's like us, make it ugly, baby.
Yeah. When you look at the people, the numbers, and you look at their name, you say, oh, this team can't really hang. So that's what you want to do. You want to make it more defensive. You want to be like Dudley was doing, which is sort of a veteran thing. Be an irritant. Get into people, talk a little trash.
This is where the D's comes in and goes, I just don't like it. He comes into me at work. Friggin' Daddy D's getting all soft now at his old age. Comes to me at work Sunday and he's like, man, who's the dude from fucking... Who's the point guard that he's like, man, they need to I need to get it together and handle Patrick Beverly. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I don't like all that stuff. The way he's acting, the way he's playing. I go, what? Playing hard defense? He goes, nah, just the way he acts. It's just uncalled for and all that stuff. I'm like, since when, dude? Deez, if you're listening, you're going soft on us, dude. First it was Ronda Rousey, the Black Beast, talk about Ronda Rousey all the time, and now you're going soft on a dude playing defense. Come on, Deez.
Well, like I liked how Dinwiddie would go into the refs. I liked how he played tough. I like how they wanted it. I like how LeVert went at them. A lot of these players,
Karis LeVert's fucking underrated.
a lot of these players, D'Angelo Russell gave them problems because again, they run Simmons at the point, but then he has to guard the point.
Right. Exactly.
So even though he's big and long, Russell was still able to take advantage of that, which is the maturity of his game, Russell. And when LeVert came in as an extra little punch, they were like, oh my God, where did this guy come from? And they had to figure things out really quickly. This series was a wake up call for them because them taking that first game was huge, and it really, and they started. Remember, in that game, they started booing Philly, and they were in Philly.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, you guys got to get your shit together.
So, yeah, I was bummed out. I like Brooklyn. I like the direction, dude. If they could get like a Kevin Durant, dude, they would be nasty, man. I really think though you add that 30 points a game to that team and all that stuff. Although I do like Dinwiddie was a really good passer last year. When we got in the playoffs, they were kind of just like placing Dinwiddie and Russell all over in different spots and stuff like that. I think Russell's more of a 2-y guy. I think he's more of a 2 than he is a 1. I would love to see them get them both up there on the top of the court and maximize what they got. Karis LeVert in certain instances can play as a third wing guy. Like he's long. He could in a pinch he could play him at 3. I'd like them to get Dinwiddie at the point more because he's more of a point than he's a 2 guard. He can score it.
So you see the points and how they did it. They were looking for LeVert to come in and right, but it surprised Philly. But also when they have D'Angelo Russell there, he comes in. He's more of a scoring guy. As far as like facilitating. Not his thing.
How does Shabazz Napier come off the bench though, and get the most assists?
Because when you're talking, within this team, Dinwiddie can get to the basket, Russell can get to the basket, and he can shoot the 3. They were using those guys again. It was the point guard position that they wanted to attack on offense because they don't have. They go with Simmons, but they don't necessarily outside of Simmons. They were doing McConnell, but again, McConnell is like, it's a weakness that I would exploit too, and they were able to exploit that with both Russell and Dinwiddie, and so they made them more to be go out and score. Don't be so much as a facilitator. Go out and get some points.
Speak of that, did you see the final game of the series? One of the funniest things I've ever seen in basketball. They were trying to take advantage of McConnell, and I think they really disrespected McConnell because I think they thought McConnell really wasn't all that good. Dude, at one point they were in one of those games. I don't know if you see it, Spencer, but they were sagging off McConnell on purpose. So McConnell comes down, pulls up, hits mid-range jumper, right, and he's just like, okay.
But remember
down. Then he comes down the next series, dude, on purpose. I watched this dude defending McConnell. Takes 2 steps back, gives McConnell goes, cashes it, and then he goes like this to dude, looks at him like, I can shoot. I don't know why you leave me wide open.
Well, again, they in the last game they were getting smoked. At that point, it was like they didn't have nothing there. They knew the writing was on the wall, but they were getting dusted way early in that game, and at that point, it was just like, hey, we just playing to play right now. We ain't playing to get this dub, and they got rolled. So
looking ahead, This one now. Okay, so there's not. I mean, Orlando sucks. I mean, I know they stole a game because of DJ Augustine. He's been hitting shots since 12th grade. But this is a hard one for me to pick because I do think Philadelphia has the more talented roster if they all play well. But I think Toronto, the gap between how talented they are and how talented Toronto is not that huge. And then with how cohesive Toronto plays, I kind of like Toronto to win the series. I really like Toronto. I really think Toronto people are sleeping on Toronto. They got some really good. And don't like. Here's the piece with Toronto that I think people aren't paying attention to. How good Kyle Lowry is can be at least. Like sometimes he has duds. But dude, Pascal Siakam just fucking killing the game. Dude.
They're gonna again Philly. Their main weakness is defending the point. They're always gonna have problems, no matter how far they go into here. They're gonna have to figure out how to defend the point. They try some different things where they try to roll Butler. They try to do Simmons, but the problem is that when you have a really good point guard. You're gonna need someone that
Jody Meeks
that is really going to slow that up. Remember and this team, Kyle Lowry runs this team, but Leonard gets the points. Siakam has really stepped up and done a really good job. But this series is really going to be based on the point guard, and it's going to be based on Lowry and what he can do. If he can get back into a mode as the past couple of years, as they've been in the playoffs,
he's going to be the key.
If he gets like that, and again, D'Angelo Russell was killing him, Dinwiddie was killing him. If you can get Lowry playing at a level that he was before, this series might get out of hand. But the thing is that Lowry he makes some shots,
he's an enigma.
And then he gets lost in his own head when he's playing. He's like, I need a break, and it's like, okay, man, like, are you here to play basketball or we need a timeout? I mean, I don't get it with him, but he's gonna be the key. There's a serious weakness there, and it comes with a point guard. He's a high-level point guard. He should be able to dominate and control this team. And then shouldn't be a problem. Then you got Leonard. You got Siakam. You got Paul, Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol.
This team's stacked.
Yeah. You barely saw Ibaka in this game.
What do you know about Norman Powell, Spencer? You know anything about him? I know Spencer pays attention to these young guys more than me. Is Norman Powell, again, I've never seen him play before, I don't think.
He's a shooter.
Is he a mulatto kid?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're thinking of Van Fleet, maybe?
Or you're thinking Van Fleet. Now,
I'm thinking of Norman Powell. I know who Fred Van Fleet is.
I think Norman Powell plays somewhere else, right?
No, his name's up there. Hit on him.
Power.
Try to see if I've watched this kid play. Oh, okay. I know who Norman Powell is. Yeah, honestly, dude, I like this team. I really like this team. And I was surprised. I was worried about how Kawhi Leonard was going to play here. And I said something before, Spencer and I, on the last podcast episode. I made some remarks about Kawhi. I don't think I elaborated on them good enough. I don't like the whole when Charles Barkley thinks Kawhi Leonard's the best player in the world. He's not the best player in the world. And I was saying, I think by some people he's overrated. I don't think he's an overrated player. I think from some people he's overrated. He's not the best player in the world, but he's a fucking nasty player. He really is. And I think people don't pay attention to it sometimes because he's not a flashy guy. He works for everything. His IQ level for basketball is high. He's like a meat and potatoes type player. You know what I'm saying? But he just is so good and so effective. I think he's going to give them problems. He's going to guard Jimmy Butler that whole game. Every one of these games. He's going to guard Jimmy Butler and make his fucking life miserable. And if Jimmy Butler's going to need to come play in order for them to win the series. Well,
Jimmy Butler's going to also have his hands full, or whoever's guarding him, even on the defensive end. I just see a lot more problems that Philly are going to have than Toronto's going to have problems with this series. again, I'm just going to always go back to the point guard. I just don't think Philly has a true point guard that can really guard that position. They have Simmons running the show, but I don't think Simmons on the perimeter guarding is what they need. Again, they go from the Simmons to McConnell, and I just think that if Lowry gets on a roll, I think
they could be in trouble.
Yeah, they could be in trouble because
especially if they got out to a roll quick.
And then they turn around and they bring in Van Vliet, and he plays he plays steady, he plays well, he can knock some shots down. It's
the guy, fucking bring insanity into this game, bro. Don't make him go off.
But again, I think both of these point guards can turn the corner on anybody that they put on them out on the perimeter. But then once that's going down, then you still got to stop Kawhi. You still got to stop a really Siakam who's playing really well. Then once that starts to open up, all of a sudden, then you get hit with the gas easy, and then it's going to be.
Before we make
a serious problem
on the series, question for both of you. Do you think Kawhi re-signs with the Raptors, or do you think he leaves? Do you think it depends on how well they do? Because I like this team right now. Let's be real here. You're going to have to move Marc Gasol at some point. Let's be real. You're going to have to move Kyle Lowry at some point because he's 30-something and he's not playing his best basketball anymore. You probably can move Serge Ibaka. But I like their nucleus. I like Kawhi Leonard. I like Siakam. Norman Powell can play. Fred VanVleet can play. Jeremy Lin's a threat to go for Linsanity.
I don't.
Do you think he stays or no? Do you think he goes west or what?
I'm not sure because he seems to they don't put any pressure on him when when they talk. They don't start off with are you going to be here next year? Are you going to be here next year? Are you going to be here next year? When he was with San Antonio, are you going to play? Are you going to play? Then they got these meetings and all that stuff. I think they take the smart approach. We got him for this year. We don't consider it a rental. We consider it we're making a push. They did a bold move. Let's get him in here. Let's see if we can make another step, and let's see if this team will be a little bit better. With that said, I'm not really sure because they do have a really good team. But I do know this. If he does leave, they're going to blow this thing up.
Oh, for sure.
Because then two star players have left. And I don't think necessarily with the pieces left over, it'll be a decent team. They'll get to the playoffs. But what'll happen is you're first, second round, and you're out. So I just I'm not too sure. I think they leave him alone. I think he feels comfortable. I think it's going to be a high level option for him because he has shown a lot of good love. They don't get into the media and say, ask him where he's going, where he's going to be, and everything. So I think they've given him his space. I know if he went to the Lakers, it would be a problem there. The Clippers, I know he wants to be close to LA, but again, this league, you can make your money, you can get your endorsements anywhere you want to in this league. I don't see a problem.
I agree with you on that. And they try to fucking act like you can't and shit. Dude, you're going to make money no matter where the fuck you're at. Doesn't matter if it's LA or if it's Orlando.
The dude's rocking New Balance sneakers. I mean, he's finding money somewhere. I mean, who the hell else is going to fucking buy them?
$28 million a year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're playing him. He's the face on their getting into the basketball scene. He's the face of them right now in basketball. I'm sure he's getting pretty good money there. Again, you can get your money anywhere. They've done a nice job just leaving him alone because I think when he was in San Antonio and they were saying when he's gonna come back, is he coming back? And they're all up in his face. They got cameras in his face. They're having meetings. They're calling people out in the media. They're calling each other, all this stuff. His team and all that. People don't want to deal with that nonsense. Right. And I think they've, and on top of that, They allowed him to sit and to rest. They have not forced the issue on him. So really, they're invested in him. They give him the freedom to make decisions. They also they were like, hey, listen, we're not going to play you 82 games. We're going to go for around 60 games. That's what's important. Not only we bring you in here to play, but we really want to make a push in the playoffs. And I think it's a good setup for him. If he stays, I think it would actually be really good for him. If he goes, who knows what he's going to run into.
So, what do you think, Spencer? Do you think he stays or goes?
I don't know. I think it's too hard to tell. But he seems like a guy that Toronto might be a good place for him to be. And if he's as laid back as people as he seems, then I mean, why would he want to be out in LA?
Don't they treat players well? From everything you've said, like every player that's ever left Toronto has always said great things about the city and the fans and the organization and shit.
Canadians just seem more friendlier.
They're
not as
You've been to Canada a handful of times, right?
yes.
I've never been there.
They're a lot friendlier. They're a little bit more open about sports.
It's the only team too, so
Yes.
It's not their only sports team.
I mean, they're only basketball team, right?
Yeah.
NBA team. I mean.
So, but the fans are passionate. You see the people in the arena. You see all the people hanging outside the arena looking at the
Vince Carter still.
Yes.
He comes back, motherfucker's 200 years old. They're like,
and they play a lot of basketball up there, and you see a lot of players
just ask
now.
Drake, he'll tell you.
Let's not go. That's a whole nother series on this podcast. We ain't going there.
Drake stepped out on the court if I was an NBA player for the opposing team. I'll fucking smack his ass.
Ditto on that. Again, it's the culture there, and those people aren't going to put pressure on him. They enjoy watching him play. He's a high level player. Again, he fits there. Will he stay?
I mean, if they make it to the finals, why would you even leave anyway?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I feel like if they can make it to the finals, stay and try to get a free agent up there, man. Make that place your own. Could you imagine if Kawhi led them to like a championship? You know how wild that would be.
And if they make it and they don't win it, I mean, you can only assume that your team's gonna get better. So,
yeah,
I mean,
so we didn't pick a game series in Milwaukee versus Boston. I got Boston in 7. I think
Boston
winning.
Yeah, I'll take 7.
Yeah,
too.
6 or 7. I don't know.
You have Milwaukee in 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So in this series, who do you guys like with Philly and Toronto? I personally like Toronto in 6 or 7.
I think it could be worse. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if Toronto gets off to a hot start, it could be worse, like a 5-1. Or a 4-1 win.
I think, again, this was another. These two teams both lost their first game.
Right.
I didn't know Toronto lost. Oh, yeah,
remember
that's
that
right.
point
When
of
DJ Augustine hitting shots in 12th grade.
Again, both of these teams needed a quick wake up, and they got it, and they came back and then swept the next 4 games. So, but out of these two teams, I think Toronto doesn't have to figure themselves out. I think Philly is still navigating the waters with the players and how they're going to run things and all that. And if B can stay healthy, I'm taking. Again, I said if it was point guard play and it gets hot, this could be a quick series. So, sort of with that said, I'm going to say Toronto in 6.
Yeah, I like Toronto. You know what that reminds me of? So here's another thing, because I like to make those cross analysis, those correlations. Don't you feel like these NBA teams that have it together, when in a close series, you kind of lean towards the team that has it together, chemistry and like tightness wise, similar to how, like I've always said, if a player, unless they were a quarterback in the NFL, was just so much of a fucking hassle, then you dump them. I lean more towards the teams that are just as good, that have it together. Might be a little less talented, but play defense and have it together. And dude, I'm telling you, if Toronto gets off to a quick start, dude, Philly, there's gonna be finger pointing. Jimmy Butler's gonna punch a cheerleader. Who the fuck knows, dude?
Remember in that series with Brooklyn and Philly, Jared Dudley almost fucking ripped that team apart. And I'm not saying about
Yo,
what
Jared, dude, Dudley's a G.
So
You're
what?
lucky Matt Barnes ain't out here, dude.
So what he did? Yeah, Matt Barnes would
That's my guy.
have shredded the team. But what he did was he and this is a trick that they've been doing.
Matt Barnes.
Yeah, this is a trick. This is a trick that players that are crafty and smart. They understand. They understand to like you gotta get into people and you gotta antagonize them.
Feel them like a pair of Hanes, you know.
The only negative to that was that I think Philly, and they were saying it in the media, I think Philly figured out like we should just leave, like don't make Dudley the center of what we're talking about. That's why when you saw Embiid, he was like, oh, he's nobody, whatever, and move on. You know what I mean? Like because if you get totally involved with the dude, right. So the key would have been for Dudley to like start fights. Like remember in that one game where he gets in the Jimmy Butler. But the thing is that my boy Ed Malloy wasn't playing. Ed Malloy wasn't playing, and he went, both of you get out. He shut him down. But what would have been important is that Dudley got another player, a better player than him, and got him to exit the game with him, which is what you want to do. Which is what you want to do when you're kind of being the.
And I just was so bummed they still couldn't win. I watched that whole game at work, and I go, Jimmy Butler's gone, and all this stuff. I'm like, let's go. And then Embiid just was like, fuck all that noise. I'm 30-something.
Which, by the way, my boy Ed Malloy, he's probably play games, dude. Again, I sent you that clip. Ed Malloy, which is the greatest clip. No, Ed Malloy. So he was going after to try to push the right buttons, but he almost got underneath their skin a little bit too much. But they were smart. They said, "Nope, we gotta forget this dude. Don't even think that he's on the court. Let's not get involved with him." So and again, Dudley initiated that scrum,
right?
But what happened was it didn't work in his favor because they had already previously just said, no, we're not gonna deal with this dude, and we're gonna forget about him.
I immediately messaged Spencer because I was watching it. And dude, Dudley played for the Suns for a while.
Yeah,
Spencer's guys, dude. I'm like, Dud's out here. He texted me. We texted each other like the exact same time. But when the fight happened, I had used my phone for something else, and I was trying to get back on. I go, why? What happened? And he goes, it was scrap. And I turned it on, and it was like to the point where everyone was like separated and people were getting ejected. And I was like,
it wasn't really that bad, honestly.
Yeah,
though. Just got shoved into the.
Who do you like in that series, Spencer?
You talking about Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Toronto.
I got Toronto too.
Yep.
So we all got Toronto. I got Toronto in 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I like Toronto in 6. I think Philly's so talented they'll steal a game. They'll probably have a night where they hit a bunch of shots.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably at this point probably the most interesting, to say the least. The Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yes.
Tell me what you think is going on with that.
Well, obviously, if most people do know or have seen this series, there's some agitation where it comes to Beverly and getting underneath people's skin and
dude, someone needs to do something about Beverly, dude. I don't understand, dude.
I personally like these type of players because
Me
what they
too.
do,
I love those players.
They don't
back Barnes, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. There's no back down in these guys. They get super engaged into the game. Like Beverly plays tough, hard-nosed defense, and he's not gonna shy away from. He's not gonna shy away from a fight, and he's not gonna shy away when someone gets in his face. Even though if he goes up to Durant and Durant looks like he's a fucking giant in front of him, so the Warriors are still going to win this series. To take 2 games is I think really a testament to Doc Rivers. But really this series and the kettle has been bubbling only because really Beverly is like a super duper irritant only because he plays defense tough. His demeanor and how he carries himself is tough, and when people people get in his face or want to try to intimidate him, he does not go for any of that nonsense. He'll get right in your face. He'll get right in
triple double.
And he will get after you.
That's rebounds.
Oh, okay.
Defensive rebound.
So and again they bring Lou Williams off the bench. Lou Williams scores and plays like if he was a starter. They get a punch.
No, there's rebound.
Okay.
He gets a punch, and what happened? One thing in this series that seems to be a problem: Durant, all the normal guys get their stuff. They're having issues of getting bench points, and they're not finding people. Yeah, they're not finding people.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, they're not finding people because even though they bring Iguodala and he does some stuff, but Iguodala hasn't really. He plays a role player position. He doesn't play like he's played before.
He's a guy that keeps the engine going.
Yeah. He plays good. He still plays good defense. Yes, he's an older player. He's crafty. He knows how to move around. He's a nice. He's physically strong. He knows to be in the right spots, but they're not, and you can see it right here. They're not finding the punch on the bench.
As a whole.
So Durant goes off and gets 45, and and then Curry, Klay Thompson, but look at these bench points.
Yeah, dude, that sucks. I think people sleep on, and it's the reason why he gets the points. I think people sleep on Patrick Beverley's ability to put the ball in the basket too, and it's because even though he's not as skilled and he's undersized and stuff like that, dude, he attacks on offense the way he attacks dudes on defense. It's full throttle. He knows where to go. He makes a move. He sticks with it. He has good court vision, and he just attacked dudes. He had that one play the other day where he hit some spin move around 2 dudes going the key, drew a foul, put it off the glass. It's like, goddamn, Patrick Beverley, keep showing these dudes. I love it. 37 minutes he played.
Well, okay, it's clear as day in this that you can see Lou Williams. But one thing that Lou Williams does, and again, they go after this thing where Klay Thompson's.
God, Lou Williams at 33.
Yeah,
oh, damn.
Where these guys are some defensive stoppers. I think another problem you're seeing is Draymond Green. We've always said this, that he's sort of been a little bit overrated. He does pass really well. He does some other things, but okay, now he don't make any threes.
He doesn't score like he used to at all.
Yeah, he doesn't make.
He wouldn't be overrated if he fucking stopped shooting jump.
Yeah, but he used to be decent though. Scoring.
I think that people freaked out because he had one good year of scoring, and then he had that one playoff game where he fucking came out. Remember the one playoff game in the finals? He dropped like 33 or whatever. And everyone's like, Draymond, he's arrived. I'm like, yeah.
So
everyone has a good night shoot.
So one thing that I saw, which was super interesting, was
the year we had 15 in the whole season.
Who they had actually guarding him on the defensive end. So it automatically tells you how what they really think about you, because you could do whatever defensively, roaming around and being and being this guy that does a little bit of everything, jack of all trades. But it's when you put a guard on him,
right,
on the other end that's a lot smaller, and you're almost baiting him to throw it in the post to him. They can't even get that. Right. They can't even get that with him. He's becoming a little bit of a liability on this team.
He has no actual polished post game anyways. When do you ever see him call for a ball in the post, get the ball, put a move on the floor, either face up or try to go by a guy? He doesn't have that. He's never had a high level post up game. You've never been able to throw the ball to Draymond Green. He gets the ball, spins around, faces you up, goes back to bumping you, puts moves on you. He's never been that guy. Most of his shots come from wide open. Like he could hit a three if he's wide open, or in transition points.
Yeah, but he's not even hitting those wide open threes now.
No.
Now he's not even.
They're not like, and that was
they
just
leave
about
him
to say,
wide open.
they're baiting him to take that. They're not even up on him doing that. Again, what that used to do is it would make people a little bit honest, which they would play on him, and it would allow him, especially even if a guard is on him, it'd still allow him to see over the defense,
right.
And he makes really good passes. He's a really good passer. But because he can't make that three, he can't. People don't play him super tight, so it relegates him getting the passes to guys, because guys are starting to, when he has the ball, they're starting to get glued on him. And another thing in this series that I started seeing is he likes to do that thing where he likes to bring the ball up court.
Yeah.
They've been taking the ball from him doing that shit. So so a couple times he had to defer and get that out of his hands. So they've really not full-fledged tried to attack him, but what they've done is like, these teams are starting not to really respect them on a whole bunch of different fronts.
Do you guys remember the one game, and I said to Spencer, that was the straw that broke the camel's back? It was a while back. I told Spencer, I remember it was a playoff game. I'm watching it in my head vividly, and that's why I'm laughing. Remember the playoff game where Draymond gets the fucking defensive rebound and Durant comes back and you have to give the ball to Durant? It's why Durant left Russell Westbrook's punk ass. We're about to get to him. But Draymond goes, was big dumbass, dribbles, looks at Durant and ignores him. Literally looks at Durant, ignores him, runs up the court, flubs the shot, and they lost the game.
You saw that picture? There's my boy Ed Malloy again.
Yo.
Man, he's everywhere. No, Ed Malloy!
So no, I said that was the kid that he's not going to play for them after this year.
Yeah, Draymond's shooting 18%.
No, Kevin Durant's leaving.
Oh, Durant, yeah. I mean,
Kevin Durant's leaving.
Maybe.
I think he's leaving. He's going to go to Brooklyn. They're going to win championship. And here the Clippers are another team. People could sit there all they want, and I love LeBron James and all that, and I think he's just one of the greatest players ever. But if you guys were a player and you had to choose between those two LA teams, which one are you going to? You going to the team that's a bunch of defenders, a bunch of scorers, the guys that are willing to die on the court and play well and all that stuff, that are already made the playoffs and have a winning record? Or are you going to play with King James? I don't know how I feel. I'm starting to think if you're like Kawhi and you want to go to LA, Kawhi would fit in perfect with these fucking dudes. Kawhi would fit in perfectly on that team because he can let all those dudes be themselves. They all play defense. He can go right in there, guard the best player, and give you almost 30 games. On top of what these kids are doing right now. 3-2 right now against Golden State. No one expected that. What's more enticing to you guys? What would you rather do? If you had to choose between those two LA spots.
Neither. And
if you had to choose.
Yeah. But here's always been my thinking with the two LA teams. They share the same arena.
Oh, they do, don't they?
Yeah. They're the Clippers always had that bad history of drafting, always getting the number one picks, drafting the player. No one ever wanted to go there. So it always used to be like this. It was like the last stop, and then you were toast. That's how you knew you were toast. But Los Angeles still dominates. But the problem is that LeBron is he needs so much. He needs to be involved and have so much power that people don't want to go play for him. I'm not saying that and that which makes this team young, more enticing. They play whatever. But now that you really think about it, Lou Williams will be, give him another couple years. He's long in the tooth. Beverly's not going to be there, so they're going to have to flip this roster a little bit in some positions in the near future.
I keep forgetting Beverly and Williams.
Yeah, so they're playing well, but you're not. How many more years you think you got out of them? So what they've done is really good. And again, they're not just thinking about bringing in Kawhi. They want to bring in 2 max players. So who's the other person that you're going to pair against if you could get Kawhi, and where do you think that that's going to take you to down the road? But I've always thought that the Lakers have always treated the Clippers like the stepchild, and the Clippers are always battling the Lakers for the supremacy of LA, which they can never get. Like historically, it's tough to go with these franchises because you think there's money behind them with Ballmer with the Clippers. Yes, if I had to choose, I would pick the Clippers. But really, if I really had to choose and I had a choice, I would say no, neither one of them. But I definitely want to hit the Lakers. I mean, I think they're a dumpster fire.
So I think we all agree that just because of Golden State's talent, they're probably going to win the series.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I think they're going to win the series, but
do you think it goes Game 7?
I think this could.
Ooh, what would you do if they lost, dude? That would be fucking crazy. Patrick Beverly pulls his dick out.
But again, they stole the last game at the Oracle. They took that game at the Oracle, which you could say, playing people in the regular season on the road and winning the game, but to go into someone else's arena when you know you need that win and you go take it from them on their own court, especially not in the first game, but in Game 5, and you take that on a 7-game series. Golden State has to come out. They got to start hitting. They got to start making shots, and they got to run away with the game. They cannot allow, because they've already showed, they cannot allow LA to hang around in the game because they got people that can make shots. And again, This is what most of all these games we've been talking about. Do you have people that can go out there and make some shots? And they have it. So they better start waking up, and and now they also know they can't just rely on Durant to score 50 and then the other guys to score close to 30 and think they're going to win the game. They've already showed that in the last game. You can't do that. You're gonna have to play some really solid defense, and maybe you might want to bring these scores down a little bit and really play some lockdown defense and get out of this series before you reach 7 games. Because you're gonna have to run into Houston, and the fact is that Houston wants to get up and down, but again, LA got players that can make some shots, and your formula for you normally winning does not work against them, so it's a problem. They're gonna need some other scoring from other people, and they're not getting it from the bench. They need that scoring from the bench. Get it from someone else, whether it's only like 15 points or somewhere around there, but get a couple guys to get involved in the mix. They can't just rely on Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Durant to shoot outside jumpers and think they're going to run away with this series.
And so that leads us into the fact that Houston's already advanced. Mm-hmm. In the Utah series, Golden State and LA are still playing. How good is James Harden, man? And it raises a question for me that I'd like to ask you. Because of how good James Harden... So he's averaging 36 points a game this year. Mm-hmm. Which makes me think to myself, my question would be for you is, do you think players are just better now at their overall games, especially defensively? They always say that like teams were so much better at defense when I was a kid and when you were a kid, right? During the decades. But how come it's taken us almost a decade to have a dude score like this? If you look at the top scores, guys, mm-hmm. It's all hovered around 30. We haven't had like a dude score, 32, 33, up to 36 in that range in almost a decade. I think the last dude to do it was either Tracy McGrady or Allen Iverson, had like 33.
Okay, so
why do you think that is? Because you remember back when you were a kid and I was a kid, dudes went off for 35, 33 to 35 regularly. Kobe's done it. Allen Iverson, Tracy McGrady, Jordan did it on multiple occasions. There's a bunch of different guys that have had obscene score numbers. Jordan had 37 one year. Kobe had 36 one year.
Okay, so these are different eras, because remember when you're going back, they allow more physical play. They allow guys to get into it more. Nowadays, like I said, when we talked about the Nets Philly series and how they immediately ejected, without punches thrown, they immediately ejected Dudley and they immediately ejected Butler. So they're real quick with the trigger. They again, they don't want this product to get out of hand because listen, we could sit here and speculate if they were told that or not, but I know that the league is telling the refs, they're telling the players, listen, it's better if we have our best players on the court. So don't get into the nonsense of getting into fights and all that other stuff. Now, the older era, again, it was only man to man, and there were a strict defensive technical foul, defensive 3 seconds. There's also defensive calls that they would make to maintain that man to man, and there was hand checking. So again, if you get really strong guys and you can funnel guys into certain areas, it sort of stifled the game. But because back then there were so many high level names, you're talking Jordan, Bird, Magic, Pippen. I mean, even if you go, there's Kareem, there's Ewing. There's a bunch of high level players. And they found different ways to score. Nowadays, the difference is that they take more outside shots, they take more threes. Analytics has pumped that up. Also, they allow you to play zone because basically in the era with Iverson and Jordan had just left, there was a huge dip. So they thought, and there were good players in the league. It just wasn't like there was a ton of superstar players. And it was just in a transition mode. Right. It wasn't like it was a bad thing. It was just like, hey, listen, there was going to be basketball life after Jordan. Which was necessary, but now you have this era of basketball where you have a whole bunch of, remember, they said you could only get scoring from the center position. And then Jordan came along and some guards came along and they flipped the script on that. You can get scoring and you can have your lead guy be a shooting guard and shoot long jumpers all day, score 32 points a game and win championships. So then all of a sudden the whole narrative changed on how you look at the game. Remember, Magic was a tall 6'9" point guard. No one ever seen that before. All of a sudden, hey, big guys can dribble the ball too, and they changed the narrative. So this era is just a reflection of what people saw and what happened now. But again, they changed the rules. No hand checking. You can play a quasi zone.
Well, then why do you think the points went down?
No. So because
let me read these real quick.
Because even in the analytics, you take more threes, and then you get over time you get more points based on you getting an extra point for the three. But then again, what you're doing is you're gonna force people to take more threes, which is a less percentage shot, which they're gonna miss more or not have as many makes. All of a sudden the scoring shifts. It still doesn't mean that overall when you do the analytics it is smart to still take threes, but the fact is that it's gonna shift a little bit. Where you gonna find the mid-range jumper guy? He ain't here. It's
Sam Cassell?
Yeah, right. But all the guys are versatile. The big man can put it on the floor. The big man can shoot. You got the stretch four that was created. So again, it doesn't make it bad, but I don't know if they didn't purposely try to make the league a little bit softer, but the way the league was playing out and big men becoming, saying, hey, I can put it on the floor. I can be sort of a guard. I can shoot. I can do these things because it was what we've seen before. Remember, a 7-foot guy shooting threes, Dirk Nowitzki, that's new too.
Dirk Nowitzki.
So the league has changed, but again, this league is littered with swing players. It's just the way it's transitioned. But you're gonna, again, can't really put your hands on Harden. So you get a guy that has high level dribbling, high level shooting. Let's say Dame Lillard too. Hard to guard him because you can't put your hands on him. So if you put your hands on him, a couple fouls, you're out of the game. So The game is just it's just a shift. It's not that they're bad, and it'll shift in different ways. You know, the big man might come back. The big stationary man might come back because all of a sudden, once you start filtering out these big guys that just want to float to the perimeter, they tend to forget how to guard down in the post. Some big man comes in like a Shaq, starts dominating all over again. It was like, well, if you take the threes, well, you got to make the threes too. It's easy to make them dunks. So
yeah, I feel it.
So it's just going to shift and move. It is better for big men to have a multitude of skills, and also it increases the game. The game gets better. You know, you have like I said, you have an MB. He could do a whole bunch of different things, and it's fun. It's beautiful to watch, but it's shown where the game has been and where it's going. So I don't. It's not a bad thing. It's just a shift. But yes, with the scoring, you can't put your hands on Harden. You can't put your hands on these high level scores like Damian Lillard.
You would think more guys would score that much. His 36 points this year, I just looked, was the last time someone put around up a minimum of 35. Or even, honestly, I looked at it. The last dude to even put well up over 30 was 6 years ago. Durant did it with 32 points. Then after that, if you look further, it's been steadily hovering between 28 to 30. But then when you go back to between the 90s to the 2000s, there's a bunch of different dudes that were between like 30 to 35.
But, okay, so also see like a Reggie Miller, who you would consider like...
but his averages weren't as high as everyone thinks.
Right, because
which is interesting to me.
Yeah, because when you really look at the games, you see him crawling off screens, hitting long 2-point jumpers.
Right.
Yes, high-level 3-point shooter, but part of the offense in the game that they were running still wasn't analytical to like, hey, why don't you take another foot? Why don't you step back another 6 inches and get that 3 in?
Right.
That's not how they worked it. So now analytics has changed the game. It was like, listen, if you're going to shoot it from there, you might as well just shoot it from there.
Right.
But you would consider Reggie Miller to be a 3-point shooter. But when you really look at the game and the stats, he wasn't taking a ton of threes. Now, but Dame Lillard in that last game where he scored 50 and then he scored the game winner, he was 10 for 18. He took 18 threes by himself. Like you can't find me a game where Reggie Miller took like 10 threes.
Right.
So yes, the game has changed, but the fact is that the way that
did you know he's shooting 39% from beyond 35 in his career?
Yeah.
Damian Lillard, that's crazy. 39%.
But again, this is how
he's a fair player, by the way.
Yeah, this is how they practice. This is how they practice, right. And this is how they play. They play to make and they're encouraged to do that. So, again, like Harden will take volume threes, but again, in a different era, they did it other ways. Jordan got his 32 inside the 3.
Right.
But then again, it was a lot of ISO, and it was a lot of like Jordan's getting 20, 25 attempts. So, and some days he would explode because he's banging everything. And then a lot of times they would get into the fouling thing, which they get into these guys too. But the thing is, you cannot. It makes it so much easier when you don't have to put the hands on the people, and then it makes it so much more difficult when you can't put your hands on them. You got to move, especially when these guys they're high level dribblers.
That's where the dangles come in. Yeah. What do you think? So, I think Golden State will advance, and then we're gonna get Golden State and Houston. I don't like to do, like, you know how they say, like, don't do MMA math. But they're struggling with LA a little bit. How do you think they match up against Houston? Because I think that'll probably still be the matchup, Houston versus Golden State.
Well, okay, so let's look at the Houston-Utah series. Now, I think Utah made I think they played this series wrong. And they end up getting rolled because you have to take the opponent and you have to try to attack some of the weaknesses there. They don't have high level a lot of their good high level defensive players left, but still their focus is offense is a little bit of their defense. Now, what Utah did is they tried to go toe to toe with them for shots. And they tried to go and make it an up and down game. Like, even in the last game, they were going up and down with them. And I'm like, this is not the way. Why do you guys keep playing like this? Because all of a sudden, end of the game, it's close. They turn the ball over. They shoot air balls. And I'm like, well, you want to play this up and down game, but then do you have stuff set up so that you can go out and make shots at the end of the game when it's 4 minutes left? Right. And they couldn't do that. So it's like you played this game to keep up with them, and you've done a good job about it. But now, for some reason, their half-court game, which they're really known for, and their execution went out the window. And I'm like, I think the problem is that you try to play a game that you really couldn't play, and then when it came to the end of the game, then it was like, boom, mentally, physically fatigued, and that caught up with you. So that series is kind of not indicative, like you're saying, using the math, like the MMA math. I wouldn't look at that series as them going 4-1 and Golden State having a little bit difficult time with the actual team in LA that's good. I wouldn't use that because I thought Utah misplayed this series. I think they did not try to exploit any weaknesses, and they might have had a game plan, and they got into where they just wanted to run with this team and wanted to keep up with threes and be kind of a little bit. We can be flashy too, and then next thing you know, it's 4-1, and you guys are going home. Right. So and when they had to make shots, you got Ricky Rubio missing a wide open 3, airballing the thing. And it was at the end of the game. Me and my girlfriend are watching it, and I'm like, this game is over. I was like, you can't. I was like, not at this time. You get that. That is not the shot you want. And basically, it was a transition 3 where he leaked out into the corner, like almost into the corner, and he shot it, and it was a total airball. I was like, this is why you're going to lose this series because, okay, you want that shot, but you want the right person taking that shot. You don't want Rubio taking that shot.
Right. And what were your thoughts on the way they tried to fucking defend Harden? Did you pay attention to that? How they were like playing dudes behind Harden and letting them chasing them and trying to poke the ball out of him, and Rubio did it like 100 times.
Again,
I thought it was fucking stupid.
Again, this is why I said you cannot really take a look at this series because I think they played this all wrong. If any other team was to really muck it up and to really kind of drag the series out, it had to be Utah doing that. Utah has always been known to play that kind of like, we're going to slow it down, we're going to get possessions and everything. And the thing is that's going to work in your favor. Yes, because Houston can make shots and they can do stuff in the half court. But their premise is they want to play fast, and that's how D'Antoni runs his offense. Right. Want to play fast. They want to get screens. Big man cutting down the middle, give him the ball, lob it up, do that kind of thing. Utah wanted to play that game. They wanted to trade stuff. And it's not like they don't have the players to do it. Gobert gets up and down the court really well. Rubio is more of an up-tempo point guard as far as when it comes to dribbling and assisting and finding guys. He's cerebral like that, just doesn't have a jump shot. So they have the players to do that. Ingles is actually sometimes control the ball, play a point. He can shoot. He's tall enough where he can get inside and get some rebounds. They do well offensive rebound wise. Favors gets rebounds offensively, so they're good at that. But you're better off doing that, trying to slow the game down. Instead, when you want to keep pace with a team that's their bread and butter, they found themselves 4-1 and out of the series real quick last night. And when the game was close, all of a sudden, then they realized, oh, now we got to play our game. And they totally forgot. And they just, that game was like, it kind of was the series. It's like, now that you got an opportunity, they just forgot that, how to play their type of game. And it was gone because they were so caught up in doing the Houston thing. And again, game plan wise, defensively wise, they were doing things ass backwards, and it was like, I don't care who it is. You don't play behind any type of scorer. You don't play behind anybody. Even if it was a big man, why would you put someone behind him? Oh no, we're gonna funnel him into a block shot. The dude makes 20 points on floaters all day.
Exactly.
What is he doing?
It
makes no sense.
He's one of the ultimate shot creators in the league. He's gonna be able to amalgamate himself to whatever fucking shit you throw at him anyway. So why would you just give him space to get shots off? You're giving him more space to create a shot by doing that.
All that leads me to think is
they weren't. I think they kind of thought they were going to get trounced.
So you're playing the game. They're not like your guy. Like you really need to get, like I said, muck it up. Instead, they want to play a different style of basketball. All of a sudden, it's like. So that's not working. Why don't you just go back to like, let's just slow the game down. Every time we get the ball, just bring it up the court. Let's run through our possessions. Let's run out the clock. Or work the clock down to get to 5 seconds or somewhere where that's when we're taking a shot. They didn't want to do that. They wanted to trade up and down. So once they realized that game plan wasn't that their game plan of going up and down wasn't working, then they get into this gimmicky nonsense, and it's like okay. So 2 wrongs are gonna make a right. You can't. It don't work that way. You can't. And this is a leading scorer in the league. This is an MVP candidate, and you want to play defense behind him?
He's one of the best shot creators of all time.
Why
are you going to give him space?
Just take Rubio out. Just play 4-on-5 on defense. That's what you're doing.
Rubio can't defend anyone safe.
Right, so. But it still don't make it better to put Rubio behind Harden.
It doesn't make sense.
At that point, put a GoPro on his head, and you can see Harden making shots from behind him instead of in front of him.
It's not even just the shots. You're creating a wider way of an area for him to dish off passes by not being in front of him.
Right, because
your wingspan is not in front of his vision.
It's not like
existentially in front.
It's not like being
easier for him to pass shit off.
Yeah, it's not like
it too.
It's not like you're on him and then you're trying to play the passing lane because you don't think he's gonna score, and like you want to play more the passing lane, and that's where you think you're gonna get him. Playing behind him, you're not gonna be in any position to defend at anything that's around you. So I just thought they got into this gimmicky thing, and I'm like, okay, so now at the end of the game, then you turn the ball over trying to drive to the basket, Gobert gets stripped. It's like it didn't even matter that what's his name missed the 2 free throws in the end. He came back, made 2 more free throws, but you guys weren't converting on what you needed to. But I thought that they played head coaching wise, mismanaged the series terribly bad. I think really bad, and it showed. So let's move on down to Portland. Obviously your boy Lillard went off in this series. Just another point in this. I thought this Oklahoma City was another team that should have mucked it up a little bit. Yes, they were down Nurkic, Portland, but the guards in the backcourt for Portland can just shred you. So I thought that because of the lack of shot makers on this, they should have mucked this series up too. Made it very defensive, made it tough for the guards to turn the corner. But this is what Dudley was trying to do to Philly. And this is how, but the opposite to this is Oklahoma City got in their own heads. And it starts with Russell Westbrook. This dude tries to be so alpha male that it actually flips on him. Because once you trying to be like, I'm this, I'm that, and you start trying to talk the trash, but you ain't hitting the shots, you look like a dope. And then you go into the press room, and the press room was like, well, this was going on. Next question. You're in your own head, dummy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it came down to this. I called Portland winning from the beginning because I thought the teams were evenly matched, but the difference was going to be the fact that and you know what? I don't want to talk about it a super lot because we don't have a lot of time, and I don't really feel like I need to say a lot, but it just, yet again, this is yet again another year where all these people that love Russell Westbrook so much don't understand why he's not effective. He falls into an area of players that's not super effective in the postseason. His game, the way he plays, his mentality, it's not effective for the postseason. He can create his own shot, but he's so inconsistent. It takes a lot of bad shots when he should be deferring to Paul George. What was Paul George thinking re-signing there? We could have signed anywhere he wanted to in the league, and he re-signed with them, and now he's going through what Durant left. You watched one of the greatest players ever in Kevin Durant leave. What was he thinking?
No, so he's they did well with him, and I think that if anything, if it's not Russell, it's him that's gonna get the rock. So it actually Russell not scoring a lot and deferring to Paul George becomes an MVP candidate most of the year. The only thing that I don't like about the pairing is they're kind of two guys that are very streaky. So Russell Westbrook, everyone knows that shooting the basketball, he's going to be very streaky. He's going to be on or he's going to be off. And he's going to take volume. So a lot of this year, Paul has been really good shooting. But Paul goes through streaks, too, of his own where he can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Right.
But he's still got ability because of his size and putting it on the floor and his length that he can get to the basket and do other things. But if this is the only thing that you got, and this is another thing too that goes under the radar, Steven Adams is a little overrated for me.
Yeah,
people act like he does this thing and he runs around like a lumberjack, but he don't got no shot.
He's not. He can't. He has no offense.
He's a big body that always, when he gets the ball, always kicking it out to Russell or to Westbrook or someone else. But I'm like, he's okay.
I really think I think he's okay in all the departments that he's supposed to be good at. I think he's an okay shot blocker, and I think he's an okay rebounder.
But I think he's over. But they have, outside of those two, and if you're relying on Westbrook to be number one or number two,
they have no one to back them.
They have no one else. They if they're going to keep this together, you got to get some shooters. The problem is that point guards that are score first point guards and they're not really good, great shooters, and there are a lot of guys that are athletic and like to go to the basket. And again, Russell Westbrook was really a two guard. They turned him into a point guard. Right. The problem is that those type of guards are not they're not real generals on the court.
Right.
What they do is they do what's instinctual, which is score and be athletic. But good teams, you got to be able to control the tempo. You got to speed up the tempo. You got to be able to slow it down, and you got to know when you got to make your push and when you can't. Scoring guards they score.
Right.
And that's where they set their tempo up. It's like, if I'm scoring, that's where the tempo is. If I'm missing, I'm still going to shoot, and that's where the tempo is. And you never get consistency out of those type of guards. They don't really have the mentality or the wherewithal to really be, have that point guard mentality.
And Westbrook's trash. Lastly, I just wanted your thoughts on this because we got to wrap this up, but I want your thoughts on the Denver and the San Antonio. I picked San Antonio when Sensor and I did this preview to beat them. I think that because of the coaching and how well they play as a team, I think that the seeding could be a little bit disingenuous to how good the San Antonio team is.
They're always gonna play. They're always gonna play solid. They're gonna play. They know Popovich's system. He sticks to it. Whoever they plug in, they're gonna run well. Denver and this series looked and smelled. And you could see it that this series was going to be the series that was going to take the longest or was going to be stretched out. And this is why. Denver reminds me of a team that's got a lot of young talent and they get up and they run up and down the court and they shoot well and whatever. But that's regular season stuff. NBA basketball, And a lot of these games have showed it. Anybody can trade baskets.
Right.
Teams get good, they can trade baskets and everything. But when it comes to crunch time and it's half-court game and you got to run sets, who is your number one guy you going to? You going to Murray? You going to Harris? You going to Jokic? Where are you going to go with the basketball? And can those dudes make it in a half-court set? Can Jokic put his back to the basket, make it that way, or can he turn around and face and shoot it in someone's face? Can Gary Harris be the guy to count on to do that? Can Murray be the guy to count on to take the real tough, hard shot? San Antonio is going to run their stuff. They're going to know what to do.
Right.
And they're going to play that. They play that half-court game, and they do backdoor, they mix it up, and they can get up and down
they
if
can
they
get
want
up and
to
down
with
if
you.
they need to.
This is going to be more telling of who Denver is going to be more than it's going to be San Antonio.
Right.
But because of the
tonight?
youth of Denver, they're going to have to figure it out.
That game's tonight. They're playing tonight, right?
Yep.
You going to watch that?
Yeah. I think that's the 8 o'clock. But I'm in the draft. I got to see where my Minnesota Vikings are picking up.
So to end that real quick, when I hop off this, I'm actually going to be turning the draft on. And next week, I got a buddy who's going to make his first time appearance on. A guy from work who really loves his football, knows a lot about sports. Real quick, what do you think? You're going to get a corner in the draft?
If it ain't in the 6th or 7th round, he's trying to pull my leg here because he knows Zimmer loves at least grabbing a cornerback within whatever round. So the word on the street is if you want to put your money down on Zimmer grabbing a cornerback sometime in this round, you're gonna get your money back and a little bit more. They're definitely, my team is definitely gonna. We need offensive line help like there's no tomorrow. But Zimmer is gonna, like always,
We'll draft a punter.
He's gonna either get. I know he's gonna get a cornerback. That's not the most important part. He needs some help on the defensive line, whether he gets a pass rushing end or what they really want is they need someone on the interior on the defensive line. And so I'm thinking they have some offensive line people in mind, but it wouldn't surprise me if Zimmer steps in and was like, no, someone falls that's the best player on the board and he's a D tackle.
Right.
Zimmer's going to be all over it, and they'll work their way in the back in the next couple of rounds trying to get offensive line. So
I'm sure it'll be a corner.
Well, they got the other corner. He's going to come back because remember he tore his Achilles.
Oh yeah.
The guy at Central Florida. So he's going to be back, but they're either going to. It's either. Minnesota is a guarantee. It's either going to be an offensive lineman or it's going to be a defensive lineman. And if it's defensive lineman, it's going to be the nose tackle / D tackle.
Yeah, we will see. I'm going to turn these on after we hop off here. We got to get out of here. So we just wanted to get a little crunch one in real quick, talk about the first round playoffs. Anton hasn't been on in a while. We'll probably have him back on soon, talk a little football stuff. But yeah, this is Keep It G-Real podcast. Anything you got to say, Tom?
No, Ed Malloy.
No, Ed Malloy. You guys can find me at Keepin' It G-Real podcast on YouTube or The Big Piece on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitch, The Big Piece on Twitch and on Twitter. And we're out of here, people. Peace.
Peace.